website, setxhomepage.com. The candidates now have some time to answer some questions that we have been getting from the audience throughout the evening, and also just some extra questions that we didn't get around to during the televised portion of the forum. We begin now. We will actually begin with Mr. Weber. Mr. Weber, do you support public schools, not just with taxes?
Repeat that?
They asked, do you support public schools, not just with taxes? And I'm venturing to guess they're meaning charter schools and other school choice issues.
Okay, and how long do I have, Agent?
Right now, hey, we're on the website, so this is y'all's. I mean, I want to go to bed, but you know, with concise answer for our website's enough. So go for it.
Did you have a time in mind that you wanted to go to bed?
Well, that's why we Foxborough News. We do the news at 9, so we don't have to stay up awake for that 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right. Well, as I have said so many times in this campaign, I happen to sleep with the prettiest gal this side of the Atlantic. 37 years my girl, 35 years my wife for the sleeping part. 37 years my girlfriend. Let me make sure I get that out. And she's a 4th grade teacher, 25 years, and so I have ate and slept and drank and breathed public education issues for a long time, and we don't pay our educators enough, or our law enforcement officials. Something's wrong with our country. We will pay our professional athletes, and I use the word professional loosely, and we will pay our professional entertainers, you know, millions and millions of dollars, and again, I use the word professional loosely, but yet we won't pay our law enforcement officials or our school teachers a mere pittance. Now, what's wrong with that picture? As a member of the Texas State Legislature, I'm on the Public Education Committee, and yes, I support public education. When Bert and I got married 35 years ago, she decided she wanted to be a school teacher. It was a calling. We knew that she wouldn't make a whole lot of money, but she could be home with the kids, she would give back, and she's my favorite 4th grade teacher, and just about everybody's at Rustic Oak Elementary. She loves those kids. She does pray for them regularly, and she stresses over the test, I'll tell you. And we're 2 weeks away from another test. You need to calm down. Are you listening, honey? I do support public education, and I do support charter schools. Competition's good.
Thank you. Mr. Old, if you had a question to ask voters right now, what would it be?
That's a good one. Well, first of all, I think that's our biggest responsibility, isn't it? I mean, God gave us 2 ears and only 1 mouth, so we should be acting proportionately. So we need to be good listeners, right? So we look at you tonight. We already know that as Republicans that you want smaller government, lower taxes, more responsive government, less regulation. We know those things. But what is it you want and expect from your Congress? I mean, you know, there's no more fundamental question. I mean, you know, I think one of the problems with government today is that the folks in Congress are telling us what they think we need. So we really ought to stop and listen. That's why we have already got 2 offices in this district. You know, we have 1 more office in the district than the congressman who represents us. I mean, we're here to listen. All of us are here to serve you. And so, as your employee, we need to be asking, what is it you want us to do? And then we need to go do it.
Thank you, Mr. Old. Mr. Sargent?
If I get a mic, there we go. I like what Jay said, but I'd like to just tell you what I would do if I was a member of Congress to hear what the people are saying, because I think it's really, really important. You know, we have offices in federal buildings where you have to go through some kind of a security arrangement, pat it down and all that, to get to your member of Congress when he comes home. And what I would do is I would go to a local restaurant, and I would say, my office hours are going to be between 9 and noon. And I can have coffee at the IHOP or wherever it may be. If you want to talk to me, come by and chat. Now, there may be some things that we need to do in a confidential setting, that's fine. But from my perspective, what you need to do is we need to be among the people who we are serving. We need to have it so they can get to us, which we haven't seen with the current member of Congress who represents us, at least in the district, part of the district I'm in over here. I don't know what Mr. Poe does. But but we need to have access, and where you don't have to go, where the people don't have to struggle to get to you. And then we need to listen. And, we don't always need to agree, but we definitely need to listen so people can have their points of view made.
Seems like a popular question. Anyone else want to take a stab at it? Go ahead.
You about what you think about the education about our nation in your school system, and whether you thought it was adequate. What would you do to change it? I know this is a local issue, but if you stop and think about something for a minute, we're one generation away from losing this nation. If we lose how and what it happened to bring it about and what it's about. So that's the question I would come and ask you. What do you think about the education about this nation? What do you think could be changed about it? In the areas, some of the areas I've lived, I can tell you they don't teach what this nation was really about. And it's one of the reasons they struggle so much when they make decisions on who to elect to their Congress and other offices. Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez?
I would like to add something on the education issue too. I believe that a system that is publicly funded and is monopolized, I believe that's not good for the students. I want to allow parental scholarships to go to those who choose to take some of those tax dollars and divert it to public school, to private school, excuse me. I believe that competition drives a better educational system, and I believe it's a win-win situation. The kids get a better education, and the parents get a choice. I also believe that if we allow the parents to have a choice in schools, the teachers will have a better place to go and get a better job. There are too many regulations that are hindering our school teachers in the classrooms, and I think what we have to do is we have to bring the power back to the classrooms. And the last thing I want to say is we have too many task tests, too many means tests that these teachers have to abide by because the government tells them they got to do this and that. I think we have to do away with all that and go back to the SAT and the PSAT testing. That is the best indicator where the kids are, where the students are. We use them to get them to college, to get them accepted to different colleges. That's where we ought to go. We ought to do away with all this means testing so they can go back and start teaching again. Because the students right now are not as well educated as they used to be, and we need to somehow prop up the education system. Thank you.
I believe the question was, what one question would I want to ask the voters, the people that are hiring us? I would want to ask, what are your issues? I would ask any employer, what are your priorities for me? Are we taxed too much or too little? Do you think the government puts too many restrictions on your life or too few? What do you want from your representative? What would you like for me to do for you? How can I make your life better? Do you think there's too many government regulations? Do you think the EPA is crippling small businesses and large businesses? Or do you believe that it is promoting business? So that's what I want to know is what do you want as your top priorities? And I created a website just for that, iwantmyfutureback.org, where you can go and vote on what your issues are.
I think we haven't heard from Mr. Truncali and Ms. Harris. Mr. Truncali?
Yeah, thank you. And Joe, I'd like to first talk about education. You know, my father grew up on the west side of Port Arthur, and my granddad worked at the Texaco refinery for 70 cents a day. It's pretty tough. And my grandmother, who had a second grade education, taught me and all of her grandchildren the only way to get ahead, the only way to avoid a difficult situation in life is through hard work and education. And my father became a professor at Lamar for 43 years. Before that, he taught at South Park. My mother was a teacher in the Beaumont Independent School District. My wife, Denise, taught at St. Anne's and also at Blanchette Elementary in the Beaumont Independent School District. My sister Ruth Ann teaches in the Beaumont Independent School District, and both of my children received all of their education through the 12th grade here in Beaumont. One graduated from Westbrook and the other at Kelly. So naturally, I think that education is very, very important. Now, when I was a regent for the Texas State University, I asked the question, what can we do to get more Texans to go to college of some sort, either a 2-year or 4-year institution? And because Texas is really behind the national average in the number of people with college degrees. And I was told that studies indicate that that decision is made by the 4th grade, usually by a child seeing someone he or she admires, and that person is usually a teacher. So teachers have a profound impact on the lives of young people. Now, I think the issue of education is really a local issue. It's not something for the federal government to hand down and hammer down. Teachers, like my parents, like my wife, like my sister, need to be free to teach and use their talents to teach and to inspire children. And I think that will make our educational system better so that students will be inspired to progress. And this is what I think we need to do. And I think we need to have a serious discussion about whether or not the Department of Education needs to exist. Another hefty, expensive arm of the federal government. And when I was a regent, I inquired. Not one thing came out of the Department of Education to help higher education. And I must say, speaking of Port Arthur, I know of a gentleman who served his country. He was unable to get into at one of our universities, but he was able to get in through a 2-year school, open admission. He was inspired by a teacher in a subject called physics. And I'm proud to say that this local resident is now completing his PhD in physics from Rice. You see, it's a matter of inspiration, and that doesn't come from the federal government. That comes from the heart, and that comes from local teachers.